Welcome to Rewired Sober, the podcast that tells the truth about why women drink and what it actually takes to stop. Spoiler alert, it's not a character flaw. It's your conditioning and the roles you were handed long before you ever picked up a drink. I'm your host, Kate Vitella. I have been an RN for well over 2 decades. I'm addiction trained, a psychiatric nurse, and a sobriety coach. And this is where we do science and soul work of a woman's recovery. So you can stop white knuckling this shit and actually start trusting yourself. I am a raging feminist, a fashion lover, and I swear a lot. So if that's for you, buckle up, let's go. Welcome back to another episode of Rewired Sober. I have a fake handy dandy microphone here. It's basically a toy. I'm recording this on my phone, so I will clean up the audio on the back end. I'm your host, Kate Vitella. I will be putting this on YouTube, so I may be talking about a lot of references that I have photos to. If you didn't know I have a YouTube channel, well, most people don't because I have a whopping 25 subscribers. But yeah, check out my YouTube. I'm going to be trying to put more content on there because I feel like it escapes the yucky algorithm of Instagram. And my YouTube is Rewired Sober, just like all my other platforms. Anyway, let's get rolling here. I'm holding this up like it's doing something, and it's not, but it makes me feel very official. Considering that I am hella crusty, I haven't slept, I have no makeup on, my eyes are puffy. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, and I'm over in New York, so they are 3 hours ahead here. I haven't slept. I have not been sleeping. I've just been feeling like kind of a little cray-cray, but that's okay because it's New York and the city doesn't sleep anyway. I am in town for Kim Bellis's Sober is the New Cool White Party. Oh my gosh, you guys. It was May 15th. I'm recording this on Sunday, May 17th. So it was just a couple days ago. It's all just like fresh in my head, fresh in my heart. It was the most incredible experience. I went last year and I felt the same way afterward. Coming together with so many women that were in recovery from mental health issues or substance use or whatever, we're all recovering from something. And we come together. This year, there was about 50 women, I would say. And I'm guessing 50 women. And, the conversations around the room were just so beautiful to eavesdrop on bits and pieces of people's stories and the way we're lifting each other up. So many of us were entrepreneurs with podcasts and, doing incredible work, a lot of coaches. And of course, we're in all white, so it's fabulous. It was at the Maze, which is the new sober and social, the only sober and exclusive social club in New York. And it's the first one. And let me tell you, if I lived here in the city, I would join. It was fabulous, really well decorated, full NA bar, restaurant. The food was absolutely delicious. I had sea bass and asparagus, yummy breads, yummy dessert. They make these little cinnamon deep fried donuts that were like amazing. And of course, the non-alcoholic wine was flowing. It was such an amazing event. And I love that they created a space because often when we're contemplating getting sober, the first thing we think is, where will I go? What will I do? Who will I hang out with? And to have a place to go, to see and be seen, to show up dressed up, or even just come after work and bring your laptop and order a dinner and, have a place to hang out and network and, meet other people. What an amazing concept. The staff was amazingly kind. It was beautifully decorated. I'll show some videos here on my YouTube. I went around the room taking video as much as I could. There was pool tables. There's a downstairs area where you can, watch shows and sports. Amazing. We had such an incredible time. And I did something this year that I didn't do last year, which was go on the walk the next day in Central Park. So I'm going to get to that. I don't want to leave out the fact that Kim Bellis provided the most amazing gift bags ever. Like huge. I could do a whole podcast episode and YouTube just on the contents of the gift bag. We are talking a gorgeous, warm, fuzzy, monogrammed blanket with my initials, beauty products, spa products, a book. I mean, I could just go on forever. It was incredible. So we all have to now check a bag going home because we have so much stuff from this party. But what an incredible night. And there were actually people there that showed up just by finding the event, probably on Eventbrite, Googling social events for sober people. And that is the first step into realizing there's a whole world out there when you quit drinking. And it's about meeting the right people and hearing other stories and knowing that there's a full life out there for you. You don't have to sit at home. And, when I got sober in 2018, this whole social and sober economy, it felt like it didn't exist. There wasn't the NA beverages, the NA wines, the mocktails, the online groups. And the first thing I thought was, if I give up drinking, there goes everything. I'm going to lean in when I say that. Everything. My social life. I'm never going to dress cool. I'm going to look like shit and have no friends and be a nun. And somewhere in there, I'll probably be fat because that's always a fear that I'm fat, even though that never seems to happen. But, we have to throw that fear in because when it comes to your worst nightmares, whew, that was a tangent. I'm a little sweaty. It's humid here. And anyway, knowing that these spaces exist is incredible. And I'm from the Pacific Northwest. We're starting to see more sober and social bars, restaurants, clubs popping up. I'm starting the Vitella Runway Project, which hopes to be events for sober people to be creative, to dress up, right? If you're a fashion lover like me, you want a place to wear the clothes, right? So what an incredible night. So the next day we went for a walk in Central Park as a group. There's maybe actually only 10 of us from the whole group of 50 women. And I didn't do this last year because I really didn't know and my itinerary was weird. And I joined the group to walk in Central Park. We walked all the way through the park. We made a wish in the wishing well with pennies. We sang and danced our asses off, to just kind of let out the wiggles. And it was like a really spiritual experience walking with all these women and sharing stories and of the night before. And of course, we're all sober. We can remember everything. We have no hangover. We all have energy, minus a little tiny bit of jet lag. And it was just really incredible. And it was much more spiritual than I thought it was going to be. I pictured us like doing some photo ops, maybe gossiping a little, sweating because it's like 80 here in New York in May. Weird. But it was really spiritual and the conversations hit different. At any given time, you could hear conversations about someone's rock bottom, recovery, how we found the group, our new lives now, what business we're doing, the coaching we're doing, the podcast, me making an ass of myself on YouTube with a fake microphone. I mean, and the balls we have to do it as women. The fucking balls. We have the balls to do it because, as we said at the party and at Central Park, we can do whatever we want because we're sober. We can do whatever we want. There's really nothing stopping us now. Whereas before it was like almost using alcohol as a form of procrastination. Like, I'll never be this person. I'll never get here. I'll never do this thing, right? Because I'm just going to self-sabotage and drink myself into oblivion. And the fact that I roll out of bed in New York with no makeup on and sweaty and like coffee breath, and I'm just coming on the internet to share my truth. I mean, that's a level of braveness and I don't give a fuckness that I didn't think I was ever going to have. And it's a pure luxury. Like, you could wrap this feeling of I don't give a fuckness up in a bottle and sell it for a priceless amount of money because I'm free. And that's what it feels like. I'm free to live my life. Okay. Tangent, TED Talk over. People out the window here are probably like, wow, what's going on in there? No, they're not. It's New York. And actually, what I've heard out that window, make your grandma blush. So while we're walking in Central Park, I overhear one of the conversations. One of the moms is talking about how her son is getting tattoos, and she's a little worried about this newfound love of art and ink. And of course, I have a tattoo on my chest that says Muse. I'm going to lean in a little bit so you can see it. Well, you can't really see it, but there's a fleur de lis around it. My family's French Canadian. And I got the word tattooed on me originally because I'm taking that back as my word. I am my own muse, me. I dress for me. I stay in shape for me. I wear makeup for me. I live my life to fulfill my little fantasies and dreams and goals. I'm no longer someone else's muse, and I'm not living trying to be that. So the word was important to me. And of course, I just love it because it's a fashion term. But all of this kind of coincides because I'm going to pivot the conversation a little bit and talk about Julia Fox, and stay with me here. On the plane ride here, I started listening to her audiobook, Julia Fox's audiobook, Down the Drain. And I downloaded it because I thought it was about fashion and the New York social scene. And I was like, oh, what a great way to get me in the mood, right, for the trip. And I start listening to it. It's about her childhood. It's about addiction, big time, drugs, hard drugs, alcohol, any drug you can think of, she got into it, sex work, just abuse. And her life was so incredible. And she kind of went in and out of sobriety until finally she is now living sober, I just read. And, she's talking a lot in current interviews about being her own muse and living her life for herself. And really, it was coming for full circle for me because I ended up going to one of her closet sales yesterday. And I'm going to get to that. But back to the book, she talks a lot about sex work. And it reminded me of a conversation I had with my husband not too long ago, where I came to this radical conclusion that if I say I'm going to meet people where they are, but then I say, no, this is the line, it has to be here, right? I'm going to meet you where you are as long as it's X marks the spot. If I have a client or a friend in recovery that's in sex work, it's like, oh, that's the line. I'm drawing this imaginary line on the floor. But really, meeting people where they are means if you have to be a sex worker to pay the bills and to survive in your life until you can find other work, you have to do that. And there's a real humanness about that. It doesn't make you a bad person. And the sex workers that I know, and yes, I know them because I'm human. They are artists, writers, creatives that are trying to exist in a world where that is what they know to do. Now, a lot of them end up getting out of it, getting clean and sober, moving on and doing different things with their life. But she talks a lot about this in her book. And I think, honestly, she wrote the book to expose all her secrets because a lot of people in the book, as she started to get more fame, threatened to expose her. They threatened to pull out the fact that she was a dominatrix for a long time in New York and that she made her money through sex work. And instead, she said, no, you're not going to own my story. I'm owning the story. I'll tell the story. So she narrates this entire audiobook of her story from her account. And she doesn't church it up. She doesn't make herself the victim. She really is very honest about what it was. She was very, very, very young. Now, this is like a person who's technically still in high school. And I really found something special about that, about the honest decision to do something to make a living to survive. Because we've all put ourselves in situations where we're not proud of, and we've all done things to survive in active addiction. And there's a lot of PTSD from that. Now, it ranges, right? Maybe you screwed up at a PTA meeting, or maybe you full on were a sex worker and asked out and did a bunch of shit. Sorry, trying to get Trying to get situated here. God, ow. Anyway, it really ranges in people's lives. And so when I say I can meet people where they are, I have to take into account sometimes people do what they gotta fucking do. I work in psychiatric nursing and I work with the not guilty by reason of insanity population of people who often come from really bad backgrounds and want to go back to that because it's what they know. And we talk a lot in mental health about meeting people where they are, but it's like, can you really do that if it's not up to your standards? So, and Julia Fox talks a lot in the book about using hard drugs, alcohol, a variety prescription pills to be able to continue work like this and numb out the feelings and the fear and the shame. And I really identified with it. I've never been a sex worker, but I've done some things in my active addiction I wasn't proud of. And I drank and used and numbed my way through. And that, I think, is a universal experience for those of us who struggled. So I was really surprised to hear that her book was mostly about addiction and sex work and abusive relationships. A little bit about her fashion line. And, there is a tiny piece in there, I think, about Kanye West, even though she refers to him as the artist. Oh no, my microphone got twisted. I have to make sure it's on the just a plug. Anyway, if you're listening to this without watching the YouTube video, it probably sounds insane. So please just watch the YouTube video so you can see all these crazy antics that I'm doing. But anyways, go back to Julia Fox. I'm going to tie this all up with a nice bow. I promise you. Yesterday, Julia Fox had a stoop sale. Stoop as in the walkway up to her apartment, although it wasn't hers. And it was her closet. I waited in line. It wrapped around the building there in Tribeca, and it was so incredibly worth it. She actually was there at her sale for a little bit, but I got there late because I was with my friends and we were having lunch, and I would much rather spend time with my friends from all over the world that came to New York than be rummaging through clothes, although kind of not really. But I show up late, I wait in line. I caught a video of her walking out of the closet sale, running into a friend on the street, and I'll show the video on YouTube. If anyone knows who the other woman is in the maroon colored jacket, maybe by the time I post this, I'll know who she is. I think she's a reality star, but I caught it on film. And I have to tell you, I judged. Because when I first saw this young girl that's talking to Julia Fox, when I first saw her come out, there were movie cameras following her. And so I thought, oh, she's some kind of celebrity. She's filming a reality show or what have you. A very attractive, nicely dressed young girl, gorgeous, chic. And she was with a nice looking older man. And she was walking around outside the closet sale on film. And the TV cameras were following her. And to this older man, I overheard her call him daddy. And I was like, oh, kind of cringy. Like, okay, I see you, bitch. Right. Like I kind of judged her. So when Julia Fox comes out and they start talking, I'm filming with my cell phone like some, crazed fan. And when I watch the video back, I listen to the audio. I can hear this young girl say, Julia, oh my God, I'm so excited to see you. This is my dad. Felt like a total judgmental asshole because she called him daddy because that was her daddy. Anyway, caught it on video. I go into the sale and really it felt like this woman's empowerment, hour for us because there were women that came alone. I came alone and we were trying various things on in little corners of this place with mirrors stacked everywhere. And we were kind of pumping each other up like, that looks really good on you. That's amazing. You can wear that. You can do that. And I ended up buying a gorgeous Alexander McQueen sweater dress with some cutout in the front. I'll try to show a picture. I couldn't find it online, so I snapped some photos myself. You don't want to see me in it until I put some lace and mesh underneath because it's a little bit like TNA. Gorgeous dress that was Julia's, and I also bought an Adidas track jacket cropped. I'll find an image. I had a fabulous time, and I left there thinking, this is an interesting full circle for this trip that I've been listening to her audiobook, and there's so much stuff in here about addiction and recovery. And then here I am. I'm a big McQueen lover, and I feel like it's really on par with my mood and my style right now. My previous episodes, I've joked about going like all goth, and this is very, black, deconstructed, kind of longer sleeves. You can really dress it up or dress it down. Felt very on the moment. This trip, I would say I did a 9 out of 10 pack job. Normally, I pack so bad. And I'm talking like totally sober, I pack really bad. I'll pack rando colors, 10 shirts, and 2 pairs of shorts. I just throw stuff in a suitcase. As much as I love fashion, my husband teases me that I'm the worst packer in the world. So this trip, I made a point to only wear black and white. So to only bring black garments, white garments, or mixed, and to bring a very small amount so that I wouldn't get overwhelmed. And I'm really proud of myself. I'll be wearing black and white this whole trip. And actually, my pack job was good. It was good. Okay. I found some NA beverages here. There are multiple NA wine shops around the city, and I've got my room set up, and it's just been fabulous. But I wanted to come on here and talk about the importance of get on a plane and meet the women in real life. Go to the event. Do the thing. You will surprise yourself at how much you enjoy the presence of sober women talking about the very same things that you felt. And my phone is making noises here. But when I work with clients, I really encourage them like making friends in the sober space is a lot like online dating. You have to put yourself out there. You have to build a social media platform. You don't really have to build that, but you want a social media presence just so you can connect with other people and go to the thing. Send the message to someone, reach out to people. It's a lot like online dating. You have to be super intentional about it because these relationships will change the game for you. And I can tell you this rando trip to Manhattan where I'm talking about Julia Fox and fashion and a bunch of crap really becomes a spiritual experience because the conversations hit different with these women. And I find that parts of myself come out that are so true, so authentic, so honest that I leave more proud of myself than I've ever been. Case in point, we're sitting at the dinner. I'm talking about my podcast and how I have 25 whopping YouTube subscribers. I make an ass of myself on YouTube. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a 47-year-old woman. We're all laughing. And someone asks me, what was your favorite podcast episode or who was your favorite guest? And I thought about it for a while, and then I was afraid to say something because my favorite guest thus far has been my sobriety bestie, Kirsten, where we talked about deprogramming AA, because that was a game changer episode for me because in real time, I was learning and deprogramming. And it started me on this journey of investigation of AA that I never thought I was going to go on. I certainly was deprogramming the dogma before, but I didn't think to look into the actual, recovery process of AA and Bill Wilson. And this really just cracked a door open for me where I felt free to investigate it. And I was afraid to say something at the table with all these women because I thought, I don't know how many of them were in 12-step recovery. And the last thing I want to do is go on and bash someone's recovery method if it's saving their ass, right? So I'm quiet for a second and I said, I have to be honest. My favorite episode thus far has been talking about my deprogramming AA journey. And the table erupted with nods and Me Too and women talking about some of us even getting started in the rooms of AA. I did. I got started in AA. I think a lot of people do. It's everywhere. You can walk into an AA meeting everywhere, 24/7. There's a midnight meeting right down the road from me here in the city. It's a great starting place, but I don't think for me it would have been healthy to end up there 20 years later. I don't want what that person has who's still going to that meeting and calling themselves an alcoholic 20 years later. And the conversation erupted at the table about how strongly I feel that a woman's psychology warrants a different recovery than a man's. We come to recovery at the intersection of womaning, momming, partnering, wifing, whether we are LGBTQ, our race, our body image issues, our experience, our sexual history, right? Women come to recovery with a different psychology, and dogma and shaming doesn't work on women. This is newsflash. Shaming doesn't work. And I talked about with these women how really it helped me sort of start investigating why I got sucked into all of this, how desperate I was for approval. And I talked about why I named this whole podcast Rewired Sober, because the importance of understanding neuroplasticity and understanding the brain can change. We rewire. We are not stuck for the rest of our lives as a diseased alcoholic. If you want to call yourself that, great. I don't. I don't want to lead with my wound. And understanding how the brain changes over time, it really like it kind of messes up the whole AA theory of we're different, we have an allergy, we're diseased, we're sick forever. Well, fuck me if that's the case, right? Anyway, it was so refreshing to see a table of women say, yeah, me too. I felt that way too. And we can finally say it out loud. And someone said, I met you last year, and what I liked the most about you is we were all hemming and hawing around a subject at the table, and you just called it what it was and said the thing out loud. And I thought, oh God, that's me making a complete ass of myself again. But to be honest with you, it's not really in my nature to beat the bush on things. I'm not vague. I'm not indecisive. I'm just not wired that way. I mean, here I go again with neuroplasticity. And so for me to suppress this knowledge and this feeling about the dogma and the pseudoscience that's wrong, for me, it felt like such a self-betrayal. And that's why that was such an important and that's why that was such an important episode to me. And I feel like it's forever changed the game, and it's changed my business because I'll never again go back to parroting AA language because I think that's what I have to say. When there are studies and neuroscience and thought leaders and beautiful authors out there doing amazing work on what recovery really is circa today, 2026, not 1930, when we didn't know any better. Okay, enough of that. God, I'm dying. So I'm just going to close this out by saying check out the book Down the Drain by Julia Fox. But trigger warning, she does go into explicit detail. Although I loved it. I thought she was incredible. And get on the plane, meet the women, or at least slide into their DMs. It's free, right? Slide into someone's DM. The theme of this trip was me telling people, again, my famous line, I need friends. I'm going to be totally honest. I'm a 47-year-old woman who denounced AA publicly. I'm a little bit lacking for friends these days because that was my old crowd. And even there was some entrepreneur circles I ran in that were heavy 12-steppers. And so I have no problem saying I love hanging out with women, especially sober women, and I need friends. And I am happy to come to your city to visit you, hang out with you, network with you, DM you online, whatever. And I think, again, that level of honesty is important. I freaking never laughed so hard. I mean, this trip has been just amazing. We all laughed so hard. It's been so real. And I needed this. I needed every single bit of this. So I'm going to go back to my Red Bull, the chips I got from the bodega down the road, and Interview magazine. And I'll catch you next time. All right, that's what I got for you today. If this hits, send it to a woman who needs to hear this shit, because we are not doing this alone. You can find me on Instagram and pretty much all the socials at Rewired Sober. The links are in my show notes if you want to work with me one-on-one and go deeper. I love you, mean it, take care of yourself, and I'll catch you on the next one.